Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. On one hand, revealing the truth feels like a moral duty, a way to correct the wrongs that have been done. But on the other, silence is the more seductive option. Today in the rLounge, are you brave enough to pull the pin? Or do you just walk away, pretending it's someone else's problem? Up first, light the fuse and let the chaos unfold. Am I the a-hole for exposing my brother's double life at his wedding and ruining it? Throwaway and fake names are used because my family uses Reddit. I, 27 female, attended my brother's, Jason's, 30 male, wedding last weekend. His fiancée, Melissa, 28 female, and I were close. Not best friends, but we talked often, and I genuinely liked her. I was super excited for their wedding because I had been asked to be a bridesmaid. Here's the issue. 2 months before the wedding, I accidentally found out Jason had been cheating on Melissa for over a year with a woman he met at work. I found out because I borrowed his iPad to stream Netflix while visiting and saw messages pop up from a woman named Ava, a very explicit ones. I won't go into all the gory details, but from the looks of it, I could obviously tell it had been going on for a while. I didn't snoop, I just saw enough. I was appalled to say the least, and I confronted him with tons of questions. First, I asked exactly how long it had been going on. Then I asked him if he ever planned on telling his fiancée or if he just planned to go through the wedding knowing he had been lying to her. His response? She wouldn't understand. It doesn't mean anything. The wedding's still happening, and you're not going to say anything. I was stunned. I told him to come clean. He said no. He said it would destroy everything. So I sat with it for weeks. I considered telling Melissa privately, but I know Jason would spin it, and maybe even convince her I was jealous or lying. He's very charismatic and manipulative. So, I waited. On the day of the wedding, I was a nervous wreck. I spent the entire day dreading the moment that I would ruin the poor girl's life. During the ceremony, all I could do was look and watch as my brother read his vows to a woman that he had betrayed. At the reception, after the speeches and cake, when the dance floor was opening up, I pulled Melissa aside and asked if I could show her something privately. I had screenshots of his notification center I took the night that I found the messages, with timestamps and even a message in which Ava was mentioning Melissa, which proves that she knew Jason was in a relationship. I showed her. She went pale, then red. Then, all of a sudden, she was very, very calm. She walked out onto the dance floor, took the mic from the DJ, stopped the music, and made an announcement. Turns out my husband has been cheating on me with someone from his office for over a year. Thanks to his sister for letting me know. She then turned towards Jason, looked him dead in the eye and said, Have a good night. Dead silence. Jason tried to grab the mic. She backed away. Then she ran from the reception with her mother and sister chasing after her. The fallout? Nuclear. Jason moved in with my parents temporarily. Half the family is calling me a traitor. My mom said I humiliated him on the most important day of his life. His friends are calling me a backstabber, but a few people, including Melissa's sister, thanked me. Jason hasn't spoken to me since. So, am I the a-hole? Edit 2. For everyone saying I should have told her before the wedding, I almost did, but I knew if I gave him the time, Jason could lie or gaslight Melissa. He's done it to other women before. I figured the best shot at her believing me was giving her proof when she couldn't be isolated or manipulated. Also, yes, I asked myself every day for 2 months if I was doing the right thing, and I still may have been wrong. Who knows? Edit 3. Update. I've never done a Reddit update before, so I hope I did it right. I talked to Melissa today. First of all, I did not expect that response from everyone. It really opened my eyes to the issues I may have caused. To those who thought my story was fake, to each their own. Sometimes people have lapses in judgment. Thank you to everyone who supported me, albeit only a couple did. Another thank you to those who helped me see that what I did was not okay. Second, buckle up, because this got way more complicated, and somehow a little better. Let's rewind a bit. After the wedding disaster, my brother Jason went no contact with me. My parents were furious. Melissa moved back in with her parents, as did Jason, and she reported the other woman, Ava, to HR at their workplace. Yes, they were breaking company policy. From what I've heard from our parents, things got ugly for Jason fast. Ava dumped him to save her job, and HR opened a formal investigation which ended up with him being fired for misconduct. They are still mad at me, obviously, but here's the plot twist. Melissa knew the entire time. She found out 2 weeks before the wedding, but didn't say anything. She told me this during brunch after I asked her to meet up to apologize. Apparently, a friend of hers saw Jason out with Ava and told Melissa. Instead of confronting him, she started gathering her own evidence, because she had a plan. Jason and I's family is extremely old school and controlling, and our parents paid for 90% of the wedding. but only because Jason convinced them Melissa had no family money and couldn't afford it. In reality, Melissa is loaded. Her grandmother left her a trust fund that kicks in at 30, and she's been sitting on a 7-figure portfolio. She wanted a prenup. Jason refused, said it was unromantic. So Melissa flipped the script. She let the wedding happen on their dime, got him legally on the hook for a marriage, however brief, and planned to confront him in private, file for annulment, and be done. But when I showed her the screenshots and stood by her, she realized she had backup and wasn't alone anymore. That's when she made it public. She told me she didn't plan to humiliate him, but once I came forward, she saw a rare chance to expose him completely with receipts and support, rather than being dismissed or painted as overreacting. And she was actually happy that I waited, stating that it gave her a delicious opportunity to go out with a bang. And here's the wildest part. She thanked me. Genuinely. She said if I hadn't waited to show her those messages, she would have played it more quietly, and Jason probably would have weaseled his way back into her life at some point. Now let's get some reaction from the community, shall we? First up. Not gonna lie, I know your fear of him spinning it prior is valid, but you should have done it before they signed the license for sure. It could have been done at a brunch with his sister and mom. Hell, you could have thrown a bridal shower and dropped it then with her support, so she had people to tell her he's manipulating if he tried to backtrack or spin in a different way. So it makes you a tiny bit of an a-hole, but if you were genuinely sure that he would have been able to weasel his way out, I can understand where you were coming from at least. Either way, if the bride herself is grateful to know, that's all that really matters in the end. Your brother is 100% a cheating butt, though, and your family are also delusional a-holes for defending him. Second person says, you're the a-hole. You let her marry him. You had the proof, so saying you were worried about how he would spin it is nuts. The way you did this is unhinged, OP. You really need to examine your motivations here and how you went about this. I get that Jason is manipulative, but waiting until the wedding day and doing it like that? That's pretty wild. Melissa could have made her own choice before the ceremony, but instead, you turned her life upside down in front of everyone. Sure, she ended up thankful, but that doesn't change the fact that you waited until the worst possible moment to drop the bomb. What do you think? What would you have done? Up next, an Aunt Karen who can't stop making everything about her. Petty revenge on husband's aunt after she didn't come to our wedding. It was hard to choose a category for this story. It's family drama, wedding drama, and revenge all in one. My husband, 31 male, and I, 29 female, just welcomed our first child in the fall of 2024. We got married in the fall of 2020 and the wedding was wonderful and everything we dreamed of, even with some changes due to COVID. My husband has this one aunt, we'll call her Karen, who is a huge witch, and he's had some disagreements with her in the past. Specifically, there was an incident where she ambushed him and his older brother to yell at them about stuff that was none of her business, and it turned into a huge screaming argument, and my husband's parents were super mad at her for doing that. That happened in the early years of my husband and I dating, together since 2014, and his relationship with Karen has been strained ever since. Some additional important context is that my husband's parents live on a farm with cows and a lot of open space. Well, our wedding comes around in 2020 and we decided to invite Aunt Karen and her husband out of respect for them being family, and we felt like the argument incident could just be water under the bridge. Well, we were wrong. First, Karen was invited to my bridal shower that was being hosted at a different aunt's house a few miles away from my in-laws' home. She had told my mother-in-law she would be there. The day of the shower comes and she never showed up, but was waiting at my in-laws' house a few miles away to see another relative after she got done at the shower. She later told that relative that she shouldn't have to get them a bridal shower gift since they already lived together, which was a dumb excuse. Like the bridal shower isn't only about gifts, it's also about celebrating the couple getting married, who she clearly doesn't care about. I brushed it off and said fine, she missed out on some free food. It doesn't matter to me if she didn't want to come. Then, Aunt Karen and her husband RSVP'd that they would be attending the wedding, which was about 2 hours away closer to my family. We did our wedding RSVPs through a website that sent me an email every time an RSVP was updated. Important detail for later. Well, 2 weeks out from the wedding, we gave our venue the final head count, paid for the food and drinks based on that head count, and then finalized the seating arrangements for the reception. The week of the wedding, we saw Karen and her husband, and they said they were looking forward to it. The day before, when my in-laws were leaving to drive to the venue and help with the rehearsal, they saw them again. They said they'd see them the next day. That night at our rehearsal dinner, I get an email from someone that updated their RSVP on our wedding website. Aunt Karen and her husband went into the website and changed their RSVP to no at 10 p.m. the night before the wedding. No call or text to my in-laws about it. No explanation. I was pissed. We moved past it, found some last-minute friends of my parents to fill in their seats, since they were already paid for, and had the most wonderful day the next day. Those friends that filled in even gave us a very nice wedding gift. When we got back from the wedding, we found out from the person who had been taking care of the cows at my in-laws' farm that Karen and her husband had spent the day there at the farm target practicing with some hunting rifles. Literally, while my in-laws were attending our wedding that Karen and husband were invited to, they were at their house basically doing nothing. They canceled on us simply because they did not want to go to support us. When my father-in-law confronted Karen after the fact, she said they got spooked because of COVID, which we think is a fake excuse. If they were worried about COVID, they could have said they were not coming from the very beginning. Why RSVP yes and reassure everyone that you could be there up until the last possible moment? Why not text or email my father-in-law about the last-minute change in plans? They never intended on coming. Fast forward 3.5 years and we are now expecting a baby. The same nice aunt that hosted my bridal shower is now throwing me a baby shower. Well, we decided that Karen would not be invited at all to the baby shower. If she didn't want to support us during our wedding, she doesn't get to be a part of celebrating our baby. It was petty, and my mother-in-law wanted us to invite her to keep the peace, but we stood our ground that we didn't think she deserved an invite. She eventually found out about the shower from other family members and was mad. Her husband asked my father-in-law why she wasn't invited. He told them the honest reason, and said if they wanted to talk to my husband about what happened when they bailed on our wedding day, then they could, and we'd be willing to talk to them about it. All they said was they were sorry for my husband and I were holding a grudge about that, and they actually had a conflict and weren't able to come at the last minute. And my father-in-law called them out about them spending the day at his house, and they basically had nothing to say to defend themselves at that point. They never reached out to my husband to talk it over either, so clearly they don't really care and have no excuse. My baby shower was lovely, and all the people who I know genuinely care about us were there, which was fine by me. We don't associate with Karen anymore, and we are happy with that. Let's pause to get some reaction from the community. First up, excellent. She wasn't interested in your wedding or life. You don't need anyone's permission to cut toxic people from your life, and she is a swirling puddle of toxic goo. Ignore her and her limp butt husband. Be cordial if you see them at gatherings, but otherwise, treat them as acquaintances. Seems like she likes to stir the pot. Obviously, she thinks people are going to stand around and bemoan her lack of presence. My guess is most people don't care. Next up. In situations like this, it always reads to me what they want is control. They want to be invited to everything so they have the control and can show you they have the ultimate power of deciding whether they will attend or not. By not getting an invitation, they can't play their little games. It's really wild, really. I wouldn't have invited them to the baby shower either. You made the right call, OP. Karen's behavior is super disrespectful, and it's clear she doesn't have any real interest in being part of your life, even though she tried to play the family card. I get why you wouldn't want her at the baby shower. If she couldn't even show up to your wedding, why bother with her now? You've got every right to protect your peace and enjoy the moments that really matter with people who genuinely care. I think Karen and her husband are just mad they don't have control over the situation anymore. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Up next, a delicious boutique-level revenge fantasy. Mother-in-law demanded to design the bride's dress. My mom was an iconic wedding dress designer back in the day and has had some pretty famous faces that she's designed for. She's also the absolute queen of petty and will always advocate for what she believes is right. I've always been incredibly proud of her, but tonight she told me a story I just had to share with you. My mom had a boutique with bridal gowns to buy, some to hire, but she was better known for designing the dress of the bride's dreams, absolutely bespoke. She had this bride come in to the boutique with her mother-in-law. Mother-in-law was generously offering to pay for the dress, but the catch was that the dress had to be what she, mother-in-law, wanted, and the bride had no real choice or say. My mom realized this, but the bride agreed with all the mother-in-law's choices and decisions, and did as she was asked in terms of design and making the dress for the bride. Then it came for the final fitting. This is the only fitting the bride attended on her own. Usually this is the fitting with the entourage, and where the bride is the most excited. Not this bride. She said she liked the dress, she just didn't love it. But she couldn't afford to pay for it on her own, and so she graciously accepted the mother-in-law's gift and didn't realize the conditions it came with. My mom took this opportunity to ask the bride what would change if she could. What did she like? What did she not like? The bride was honest with my mom, but explained the mother-in-law situation. What my mom did next is just amazing. She told the bride that the changes she wanted to make could be made to the existing dress. It was a lot of work and not much time, but it could be done. In return, My mom wrote a check to refund the mother-in-law, and instead of selling the dress to the bride, she offered to hire it for her for a fraction of the price. The bride got the brand new, bespoke dress of her dreams. The mother-in-law got a refund of the deposit she paid, and therefore no say on the dress that the bride wanted. Mom said it was absolutely worth it to see the bride look so glowing in her chosen gown. The community has a couple thoughts. First up, your mother is beyond description. What a gift she gave of her time and talent to bless the bride. Thank you for sharing this. Someone else adds in, does hire the dress mean the shop kept it and rented it to her and anyone after? Brilliant way to reduce cost and make bride happy at the same time. Your mom is a genius. What a brilliant way to turn the situation around for the bride while still keeping things professional. It's rare to see someone so willing to put their time and effort into making sure a bride gets exactly what she wants, especially when the mother-in-law was trying to call the shots. I bet that bride felt like $1 million in her dream dress, and the mother-in-law, well, she got a lesson in boundaries. Such a thoughtful and clever way to handle the whole situation. What's the most creative or unexpected way you've seen someone turn a tough situation around in their favor? Share your stories with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time. And please put your chair back where you found it.